Hello, hello. Welcome back to the P2P Soapbox. I'm your host and P2P BFF, Marcie Maxwell. We have a fun topic and a very fun guest joining us today. In peer-to-peer fundraising, recognition has always been a part of the experience. If you've been in the industry long enough, you have probably developed a love-hate relationship with t-shirts, right? But the world of recognition is changing. Today's participants want meaning, not just merchandise. They're looking for connection, purpose, and proof that their efforts truly matter. So how can we build recognition programs that go beyond the swag bag and actually inspire deeper engagement? So to help answer that question, I'm joined by Meredith Perkins, Director of Peer-to-Peer Fundraising at the University of Texas MD Anderson Cancer Center. MD Anderson's mission is nothing short of extraordinary: to eliminate cancer in Texas, the nation, and the world through groundbreaking patient care, research, prevention, and education. Meredith and her team are bringing that same mission-driven focus to the way they recognize and motivate their peer-to-peer fundraisers through the Boot Walk to End Cancer event and the Fundraise to End Cancer DIY fundraising campaign. From weaving mission moments into every touch point to designing thoughtful branded products that reinforce their purpose, Meredith shares how intentional recognition can strengthen loyalty, deepen emotional investment, and ultimately drive long-term success. So let's jump right in to my conversation with MD Anderson Cancer Center's Meredith Perkins. Welcome, Meredith, to the P2P Soapbox. So happy to have you.
Thanks so much for having me.
So full transparency for our listeners, you and I go way back to the days of actual in the office cubicles, sitting next to each other in a cubicle during our time at ALSAC St. Jude.
Working those late nights for the kids.
It's amazing how much you get to know people that way. So I know a little bit about your personal and professional journey, but for everyone else, can you tell us about the path that led you to your role at the University of Texas MD Anderson Cancer Center?
Oh, yes. I love this question. I love that you started out with the intro of our good old ALSAC days. But I often say, and I feel like we've said this to each other a few times, it's like I try to put myself out of a job every day. And I think a lot of people that are in the peer-to-peer or nonprofit space feel the same way. And not that I want to lose my job. I very much would like to keep it. Don't want to get fired. But, you already kind of spoiler alert with us being at ALSAC, but I've had the great pleasure of working for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital and now at MD Anderson in Houston, which is exciting. So I started at St. Jude working in a regional office and did all the grassroots things like Up Till Dawn and working with wonderful Tri Delta chapters to raise money and radiothons. I started a walk program. That's when you and I really,
got to know each other.
And then you were like, this girl's great. So then I transitioned and started working on the Heroes program, St. Jude Heroes program, which is the endurance marathon triathlon space, and got to travel and meet wonderful heroes that were raising money for St. Jude all over the country. And that was really fun. And so that's where I really think I solidified my love for peer-to-peer was at St. Jude. And, it's kind of the gold standard if somebody's going to raise their hand, not just give to your organization, but raise their hand and say, I'm going to ask my friends to help me. And they need to know about your organization. So that's where I think the love of peer-to-peer really started. And then I'm a native Houstonian. So my dad likes to say my husband kept me out of Texas as long as he could. So, but when a job opportunity at MD Anderson came up, I couldn't say no. So now I get to work for an amazing organization that is the #1 cancer hospital in the United States, but arguably the world, to support their mission to help end cancer.
So for listeners not in the Houston area, who may not be familiar, we're all familiar with MD Anderson, but may not be familiar with the peer-to-peer portfolio specifically. Can you give us just kind of a quick overview of what are kind of the events in the mix?
Yeah. So we have MD Anderson's Boot Walk to End Cancer, and it's our 10th anniversary this year, which is wild and very exciting. So it is our largest community fundraising event. We host kind of a one walk in Houston, and it's in November each year annually. And we have a virtual component like many where people can walk wherever they want to. So we've got some teams in Colorado and Louisiana. And I think last count, 35 out of the 50 states so far, but we still have time to get the rest are registered for the walk. So we have a wonderful virtual component, and MD Anderson treats patients from all over the world. So really just is a testament to that, which is great. So we have our boot walk, and there's no registration fee, no fundraising minimum. It's really just a wonderful way to introduce people to our mission and raise funds. Then we have our DIY program. So you all are probably all familiar with that, but we encourage people to raise funds to help end cancer in a way that's meaningful to them. So that could be around celebrating milestone, like a cancer anniversary or a birthday or a wedding, or they can challenge their coworkers and have a challenge and, have kind of like a corporate challenge, and they can have a page and do that. So,
well, I got to know the boot walk through being your friend and donating, but also I had a short stint of being a consultant with your team during COVID. So as we record this on Zoom, I'm flashing back to 2020, but you have always taken such a great approach to recognition, and recognition being a really core component of this program. So that's where I kind of want us to focus today. And so let's start with the big picture of why has recognition been such that critical strategy for, both fundraiser engagement, fundraiser retention, and how has that extended beyond just t-shirts and tchotchkes?
So, I think people are motivated from different things, right? So it can depend oftentimes on somebody's connection to the mission. People that have been directly served by your organization are oftentimes the best fundraisers because they have that personal connection and that drive to support it. But and then you might have somebody that's just maybe joining because their company formed a team and they may be most motivated by that first reward level. For us, it's a t-shirt. They can just wear it on event day, and they're not the only one, from their office that is doing that. Or maybe they're motivated by, maybe they've been tapped to be a captain and they want to have that kind of social or professional, clout within their network. And they really, like to see that recognition within the office. But I think as fundraising coaches, our goal is to really guide those first-time fundraisers from those novice or, those beginners fundraisers into really becoming those motivated masters who are both committed, confident, and successful to do what they need to do. And at the same time, really making sure that we prevent our long-term fundraisers from sliding back into maybe just not being as engaged, even though they have the skills to do it and will be burnt out. We have created a plan where we try to have a mix of everything. We do it a lot of times by asking our participants directly, what can we, how do you want to be recognized? We see different trends. And if your recognition program only includes your swag, like the stuff, you're doing it totally wrong. You've got to have some things that you're recognizing them beyond that, because at some point, those traditional incentives like t-shirts, jackets, whatever those branded items, they have their place. But for your most loyal supporters, they're not going to keep coming back because of a shirt or a jacket. Now, they might like that kind of badge of honor that, your logo or your event is there. Maybe they've got a certain, 100 club or something like that on there. Beyond that, those traditional rewards are really transactional. So, I've raised $100 and I get a t-shirt. Similar to kind of a race mindset of like, I've paid my $25 entry, I get my race bib, I get my entry, I get to go do it, and I've paid for my t-shirt. And it ends there. So, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's just kind of that ceiling of how far that transactional incentive can go. And at a certain point, those physical items just really stop being the motivator. So ours stop at 5,000. And the things that we do to help recognize and reward those top fundraisers oftentimes are things that don't cost any money. They're opportunities that really help deepen the engagement and connects them directly with our mission. So the more emotionally invested someone becomes, the more valuable they're going to bring. And that's going to be more meaningful to them than any kind of swag or merchandise.
That's one of the things that I've always loved is that y'all do a lot on the mission incentive piece. So can you let's dig into that a little bit more. Like, I'd love for you to show or tell us how you weave that mission element into these recognition programs in ways that are really resonating with your participants.
Yeah. And I think we've tried to be very intentional about how we connect our mission into a VIP experience and into the reward. For us, it's leading the walk start. So it's, you get to be at the front of the line walking, next to the president of our organization and other top fundraisers. And that becomes kind of the marketing shot that we like to use oftentimes. And so you're recognized not just on event day and leading that one moment, but then you kind of become, in a way, sort of the face or the faces of the event, of MD Anderson's boot walk. We also do things like many organizations with, top fundraiser parking. So it's easy for them to get there. And we have one of a kind top fundraiser awards. So instead of a plaque or an award that maybe is very similar year over year, our wonderful friends over at Cavender's, which is a Western apparel and boot store, donated boots to us. And these boots were going to be, donated or recycled, but they had lost their pair or were samples or, whatever reason. So we took these boots, gave them to different artist friends. Some of them were professional, some of them are amateur, and they created these one of a kind pieces of art. And so even if our top fundraisers have been top fundraisers for, say, 9 going on 10 years, they have these unique one of a kind boot awards. So it's different from a plaque or a traditional trophy or something like that, where it's a conversation starter. So they can display it in their home or they can display it in their office. We have one team that displays it in the waiting room of the hospital for their clinic. And so it's just a conversation starter. It's really unique and interesting. So we've taken something that didn't cost us anything, and our generous artists donate their time and the materials to create these, and we mount them. And that's the most expensive part, is getting a plaque for the front and mounting them. And we have a boot walk celebration. So in addition to like leading the walk start and event day parking and those things, it makes something that's really meaningful. And we have a wonderful celebration where they come and we invite, recipients of these funds and some of our executive leadership. So they're having this opportunity to, have these intimate gatherings and interactions with folks that not everybody gets to do.
So one of the things I know that y'all do that I feel like might give some organizations heart palpitations when it comes to donor acknowledgement and donor processing is that you actually allow teams, when they raise a certain amount of dollars, to designate where their funds want to go. Can you tell us about that and how that has worked operationally, how it's worked to motivate teams? Because I think, people get scared of those designated funds. We get nervous about that.
This started when the walk started. So most peer-to-peer events are for unrestricted. And so is the boot walk, and so is DIY. All of our funds really are unrestricted. However, we have the opportunity for our top fundraisers, individuals who raise $10,000 or teams who raise $25,000 or more, which means they can choose where they want their funds to go at MD Anderson. So it has to be a mission-related program or project, kind of their choice. But we always say it can't go to pay for somebody's holiday party or something like that. It has to have a direct mission connection. So that's been something that's really cool. And shout out to Judy in Gift Ops at MD Anderson. Thank you so much for being a wonderful partner and helping us. It's a wonderful opportunity for our fundraisers to work together. And it is this incredible motivator that all of these small gifts can add up and really make a difference. You and I have talked often about major gatherers, and it's a great way to say, well, I could never raise $10,000. I could never write a check, make a gift of $10,000 myself, but I have the network to help me get that. And I want to go and support, my researcher, my doctor in that area, or I can raise, 10, or I can get a team together to raise 25,000 to, help with this specific research. And I think it's really empowering and a lot of emotional healing that can come from that. And we've had some incredible stories where one of our teams, radiation oncology, has taken those funds and then been able to have some initial findings that have then turned into additional funding from, external grants. So I'm not going to get the specific the numbers right, but they've taken, say, $300,000 and it's turned into, upwards of 5 million in other findings from this. So the returns have been incredible. And this has helped us with storytelling, impact of funds, and it's been well worth doing it.
I love that because I do think, especially at a cancer hospital where there's so many different types of cancers being treated and people are there for different reasons, that could be a real motivator for someone to say, like, I'm very invested in the research for specifically the metastatic breast cancer or for, pancreatic cancer, but they want to do that through the hospital where they were treated. So I love that. I just see there's so many potentials for that. It's worth working with the gift processing team to figure out if there's a way to make it work and not let that kind of inside baseball or internal hurdle be what stops you from something that could be really motivating to your participants.
I've seen so many of our patients and survivors and their caregivers say, "Oh, there's no way I could do that." And they are astonished at what they're able to accomplish. We have all of these easy tools to make it happen. And then they come back every year and keep doing it. And it grows. And it's a wonderful way for their friends and family to continue supporting something that's so important to them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What about leadership opportunities? So I know that is something that you'll have a great volunteer base. And so how you use to kind of recognize people and keep them engaged through your committee and leadership roles.
We have wonderful volunteers and wonderful participants, and a lot of them have come to us starting out as participants. And so there was one several years ago that we started getting some emails from our platform that said like suspicious activity. Then we started getting reports of people saying they couldn't donate on our website. And we're like, oh my gosh, what's happening? Turns out one of our participants had put on Facebook a link to her fundraising page and asked people to contribute. And she was getting so many hits all at once from her friends and family trying to donate that the website thought something was happening because so many clicks were going to her page to try to donate. And so we're like, oh my gosh. So we reached out to her and said, what are you doing? Like, what are you like? What, like, is that, I think she had even reached out to us and said, people are having a hard time, donating on our page. Come to find out it's the same, person that had been the issues were related. And we kind of joked that she broke our website. She didn't really. So we worked all through that of saying like, okay, it's actually not fraudulent. This person is just having a lot of activity to her page. So obviously that got our attention and we were like, let's learn more about you. And so she started off that year just as a wonderful person that we would ask for kind of tech help, and some UAT as far as, hey, how do you like this tool? What do you think about this on social media? She would proactively tell us like, hey, have you thought about creating this resource for participants? And so that's how it started. Then she was a top fundraiser and had the most donations. She received the most donations out of any participant, which was awesome. We were able to give her a boot award for that. Then we invited her to join the committee. She, of course, said yes. She was on the committee for a few years. She became our chair. And then from there, she was asked to join MD Anderson's Advance team, which is another volunteer organization that helps advance our mission. So not only just keeping her engaged with peer-to-peer, but with MD Anderson, because people aren't just supporting Boot Walk, right? They're engaging with MD Anderson. So this is a wonderful entry point for this peer-to-peer participant to then continue the engagement with our organization and continue supporting us. So, and she's still on the committee and she's still on this other volunteer organization as well, which is awesome. But that all came from her just participating and putting something on Facebook.
I love how robust and really well-rounded. To your point, if you're having a recognition program that's just about product, right? You're missing out on the opportunity to what are day of experience elements? What are leadership experience elements? What are kind of those mission connections, since people are motivated different ways? But products are always going to play a role, right? They can elevate our brand. They give people that kind of tangible reminder. But obviously, kind of how we think about products has changed a lot at a lot of different organizations from kind of how we did incentive programs, 20 years ago. So how have you kind of restructured your offerings so they feel aligned with kind of this overall recognition strategy and not like something that's just transactional?
So our first level to earn a reward item to be recognized is our event t-shirt, which is raise $100. And that's really our entry point, and things go up to $5,000 for an item. And then the things beyond that are this event day recognition, leading the walk start, top fundraiser parking. We have a team meetup area for top fundraising teams, and the allocation. That's a big one. So for after the event, for items, we pay very close attention to how much these things cost and but obviously we want to have quality over quantity. We don't have multiple items at each kind of level, and we give our participants the opportunity to select one item the more they raise. So somebody that has 5,000 who's at the top, they can have their selection of all the items. They can have the jacket at the top, or they can select something at a lower level. And one of the things that we pay close attention to is what's the patient first experience? And this is something that I regrettably missed kind of early on. I think it was first or second year. We had a great hoodie. It was like a half zip pullover, and we really loved it. It was great quality, but it didn't do well. And so we have post-walk surveys, but then we asked some of our participants, said, why do you think that wasn't selected? And he said, well, if you're going through active treatment, it's very difficult to put something on over your head. So a full zip would have been it would have been easier to put on and be able to have, if you have a port, it's easier access, things like that. And I was just like, oh my gosh, you're so right. So things like that. We have full zip. We've done full zip vests and jackets and hoodies, but that's one of the things that we have now. We don't do half or no zip at all. We've done beanies. That's been very, very popular with our participants as well. So we try to have something that is useful, and again, that quality of quantity, and look at what things do well. It's also something that you can't buy in our gift shop. And I think that's really important too, is this is something you earn. You qualified, you earned this. It's a reward. It's a recognition versus that transactional. And people are not going to be as motivated to, get that really cool boot walk zip up hoodie. Or this year, I'm very excited at 1,000, you can get a blanket that has all of the years on it, all the different designs of the t-shirts on it, which is going to be really cool. But you can't buy that in our gift shop. So you have to earn it. And so there's a lot of pride that comes with that badge of honor, and, being able to say, you can't buy this. You have to fundraise for the boot walk,
exclusive.
Yeah. It's very exclusive.
Well, so with all of these elements, obviously, measuring success is going to be key. So you've mentioned kind of this great feedback loop that gave you some insights into maybe what some of the people who might be in active treatment wanted, but kind of what are those metrics and, ways that you do feedback to evaluate kind of how the overall recognition program is doing, and if something needs to change, what needs to change?
So we look at kind of both those quantitative and qualitative metrics. On the data side, we monitor those fundraising totals, our retention rates, item redemption, and our designation program participation. We look at all of those aspects and also evaluate the engagement touch points, how early people are starting to fundraise. Are they going to attend the recognition events that we're doing? Are the things that we're offering motivating? Do they care about leading the walk start? I mean, is that something that's, important or not? Also that direct feedback. So we survey our participants and listen closely to what they have to tell us, even if we don't agree or maybe hard to hear. It's like, that's okay. It's the truth. It's what they want. And that's helped us be better. And how are these incentives really helping enhance the overall experience? How are these rewards and recognition enhancing Because we don't want anybody to feel excluded, but how can we make people feel like, oh, I want that. I want to do that. That's cool to be in that, that club. And I think having a variety of fundraiser stories in that mix really makes a difference to help people feel like I can do that. I see myself in these top fundraisers too, and I can do it.
I love this topic because I think there's a lot of us that have had like kind of a love-hate relationship with incentives through the years, and I love that you are thinking about it in such a broad perspective. And, product is always going to play a role, but it plays a part of something much larger. I know. So we are recording this in October, and I know it's coming out in November. And so you are knee deep in Boot Walk. But if there are people that have been inspired by what you're talking about, want to learn more about MD Anderson or the Boot Walk, how can people get involved? Where can we send people?
Yeah, you can learn about MD Anderson, mdanderson.org. That is our main page. Then for the Boot Walk, mdanderson.org/Boot Walk. But if you want to know all about our peer-to-peer programs, mdanderson.org/fundraise, and you can connect with us there.
Awesome. Well, wishing you huge success. Or by the time this airs, you will be resting and relaxing post your 10th anniversary Boot Walk. So thank you so much for joining us, Meredith. It's always great to talk to you.
Great to talk to you. Thanks so much.
The P2P Soapbox is produced in partnership with True Story FM. Engineering by Pete Wright. Music this week is by Super Nito. If your podcast app allows ratings and reviews, we hope you'll consider doing just that for our show. But the best thing you can do to support the P2P Soapbox is simply to share the show with a friend or colleague. Thank you for listening.